Hey, it's your financial maven, Samantha Mittman-Besnoff, CPA. And for the last 30 years, yes, 30 years in the accounting world, I absolutely love sharing my insights and passion about money for individuals, entrepreneurs, and small business owners. Knowing your money and hopefully feeling less stressed about your money is what I call being financially empowered. Welcome to the Your Financial Maven podcast. All right, welcome to Your Financial Maven. Today, I have with me Linda Grizely. She is a motivational speaker, financial educator, and a realist with a heart. I'm so excited for this conversation today. She coaches, she speaks, she teaches with women who feel behind financially and emotionally, trying to reconnect themselves with their self-worth, helping them with the money. We know that money can be taboo. It can make us feel stressed, feel ashamed. You were a financial planner, you probably still are, but you do this motivational speaking and work with guests. When you were a financial planner, you felt that the numbers, the data weren't telling the whole story. And you came to find with a lot of your clients, especially women, that the shame was there, the guilt and everything that was there. So I am so excited to have you here to talk to us and also to talk to us about your approach, your MeMoney approach. So Linda, welcome to Your Financial Maven.
Thank you. Yeah. And that was a great introduction. And you're exactly right. Yeah. You're exactly right about the idea that there's so much more to money than the numbers.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I always start out with my important question that I ask everybody, but I think it's even better with what we're talking about today because I think it leads into everything else. So Linda, what is money?
So to me, money is an energy. It's like our breath. It's always with us. Because even when we're asleep, we're still using money because it's heating cooling our homes, it's powering our devices. So money is ever present, just like our breath. So I think of it as not just currency, but that energy. And because it has so much to do with our energy and our lives, it deserves a presence that we bring to the front of conversations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're right. Money is, I guess, a necessary evil, as some other guests have talked about. And I don't know if evil is the right term, but I think it is necessary and it is around us all of the time. So that leads me into, over the last couple of years of my podcast, I brought on guests to talk about budgets, spending plans, getting to know your money and understanding that. And I know the word budget makes a lot of people anxious, can make the heart palpitate, especially women. I think especially women. So I want to know kind of what you've seen in that fail of utilizing a budget or a spending plan and kind of, what you've seen to maybe say, hey, it's okay to feel the way you're feeling about money, but let's shift that narrative. So I'd love to hear kind of what you've seen with how budgets have failed.
Sure, absolutely. So it's funny that budget is such a bad word because even when I was doing financial planning, one of the first things that we do in financial planning is we talk about cash flow. Guess what cash flow is? It's your budget, and we're just calling it something that sounds better. But really it's your budget. It's talking about your expenses and everything, what you have coming in, what you have going out. It's cash flow, but it's budgeting. So I think that budget itself has the connotation that it's restrictive. So people take it as being restrictive and like it's gonna prevent me from doing things I want to do. It doesn't have that energy of abundance. It's more the energy of scarcity and there's not going to be enough. But one of the main things that I found in doing budgeting and working with cash flow is the underlying stories that people were telling themselves about what they could spend, what they couldn't spend, why they were doing things that way. And it all kind of came full circle into the idea that we're not putting ourselves on the budget.
Right.
There's not a line item that says, this is me, this is my money. And that's where I came up with my whole MeMoney concept. The person wasn't included in their financial plan. You're coming in to do financial planning and you're talking about all the things you need to do, all the things you want to do. And maybe you're planning for yourself in the sense that you're planning to buy a house or you're planning to retire, but you're not talking about you right now. How do you fit into the picture?
It's very important and a good point because I think it affects women more than it does anybody else. And I think women have that mindset of always putting themselves last.
Absolutely.
Right. I am a mom. And when I first started, when I first had my oldest, we made the decision together, my husband and I, that I would stay home. And I loved it. I loved being a stay-at-home mom, but it was still that itching of I wanted to get back to work. And I did get back to tax season part-time and everything. But then, of course, there's mom guilt of I'm putting him in daycare 2 days a week and now I'm working. And I think whether you have kids or not, I think women put themselves last. And
Absolutely.
I know you talk about that. And I'd love to, hear a little bit more about that. And yeah, we can certainly talk about your MeMoney and kind of how you got started with that process as well.
Yeah. So there's so many layers here. I think talking about putting yourself last. So MeMoney is a way to put yourself first. It's putting yourself on your budget first. But the more I talk to people about the money part, the more I realize, and it's me too. It's not like I don't do it, that we're always putting ourselves last, not just with money. We're putting ourselves last with self-care. We're putting ourselves last with
100%.
with, everything for our kids goes first. We're taking care of parents, sandwich generation type of stuff. And I am so guilty of it. And I'm getting better at it now that I'm becoming aware of it and aware of how common it is. And you always hear like, put your oxygen mask on first, right?
Right.
Hopefully none of us are literally in that position, but do we do it? We don't.
You're right. When you sit on an airplane, and I don't fly that often, but I have flown, and they sit there and say, if you're traveling with small children or someone that needs help, put yours on first. And why? Why do we need to do that first? Because if we don't take care of ourselves first, then what happens? We start, stress and shame and failing at things and frustration.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm getting better at that. I'm getting better because, I'm taking care of 2 elderly parents separately, stressful jobs, things like that. And I've started to notice when I need to, step back and take care of me and put my oxygen mask on.
Yeah, I think that's a great analogy. And when it comes to our finances and our money, it's not by saying put ourselves first and then spend all our money. It's we need to have that kind of analysis of our money so it can help us, so we can help others or help the situation we're in.
Absolutely. Yeah. So working in financial planning, I handle all the finances. I know all this stuff about money, yet in my own home, there's still money, like, conversations and feelings and things. Right. So blended marriage, both of my husband and I's second marriage. So it adds a whole nother layer of financial stuff in there.
Certainly does. Yes.
Especially like later in life. So all of our kids are adults, some of them young adults, but he was spending a bunch of money. I mean, I'm not saying a lot. It wasn't a problem. It was just, I don't think he definitely did not realize how much money he was spending.
Okay. Right. He wasn't paying attention.
On golf trips and fishing trips and this and that. And, we're okay. We're not losing money, but I'm the person who's like looking at our retirement and looking at this and that. I mean, like, we can't be spending this money.
Right.
So I told him, I said, I'm putting you on a budget. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, you're going to have this much money to spend. You're going to get paid every payday. You're going to have this much money to spend. And you have to live within your means. Like you have to, you have to, whatever's coming into your bucket of money, you can spend. But then when something comes up later, you can't go borrowing it. You have to have it saved. So you got to think about what you're spending your money on. He's like, okay. He's like, oh, so you're going to give me an allowance, He's like, what chores do I have? He's like joking around. And I'm joking back. Right. And so he says, are you going to get a budget too? And I'm like, sure, I'll give myself the same exact budget, same household, same lifestyle. It doesn't matter who makes more money. I'll give myself the same budget as you. So we started it. And it was probably a month later, I asked him, I was like, how is it going? And I was really concerned that he was going to feel restricted or that I was controlling because that's not me. It's not me. I just wanted to make him more aware. I didn't mean to be restrictive or controlling. And he actually said, it's going fine. And I said, okay, so tell me more about that.
Mean? Right. What does that mean? It's going, why do men do, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to bash men, but I have a husband and 2 boys, and it's always one word answer. Like, elaborate, please.
Right, exactly. So I'm like, tell me more. What does that mean? And he's like, I don't know. I'm okay with it. So I said, all right, so are you feeling restricted? Are you feeling like I'm controlling? And he said, no, I'm just making better choices. And I was like, oh, okay. Tell me more about that. So he said, for instance, there was a golf shirt that he wanted to buy, and he's got, more golf shirts than he could ever need. But that's one of his things. That's one of his luxuries that he likes, to buy golf shirts. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But he's like, I didn't buy it because I knew that I had this golf trip coming up that I want to go on, and I wanted to have the money for the trip.
So the opportunity cost, he was utilizing the process of opportunity cost of giving up something to get something else. I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah.
So my idea worked, right? So I'm like, yes, this is working. He's a spender. He's not a bad spender, but he's just being more conscious about what he's spending.
Right.
Okay. So now we flip it back to me.
Okay.
I'm the person who always said, I can't afford to go on that girl's trip. I won't buy that for myself. I can't justify that. And now I have the same bucket of money. And I'm like, okay, so I'm spending some of it, but I'm not spending a lot. I'm definitely thinking more about what I'm spending it on. I'm not justifying things the same way I did before. Because I used to justify things like, oh, it's on sale. It's only $10. I can justify that,
Right. I do that with the end of tax season. I buy myself something special because, I spent 3 months holed up, doing tax work. And I'm like, I'm treating myself but I don't have, like you don't have to justify it. It is your money.
But now it is my money because it's my me money. It's set aside for me.
Right.
So I'm not buying that $10 thing. I'm like, oh, I'm going to save that. I might want to go on a girl's trip, but I'm still taking care of myself. Like, I'm able to do things that I wasn't doing before. Like, I'll feel better about getting myself a massage or something that's like
love it.
Because it's my money. And if that's what I want to do, I can. So here's what happened. I had these little packets of this face stuff that I got from this place that does facials. And I'm like using them, and I'm like sparingly, and I'm like here and there. I'm like, it just feels so amazing. I love this stuff. So I'm using it one day, and I'm like, I always would never buy this stuff for myself, but you know what? I have the money. It's sitting there in my account. You know what it says? It says MeMoney on it. It's my money.
Right.
I'm like, I want to buy this stuff. So I bought it. I bought the whole thing. I bought a nighttime, a daytime, and I am loving it. And it's like, I'm so glad I spent this money on myself. And I would never have justified it before.
But it's also part of that self-care, right? You're spending the money, but you're also giving yourself self-care in taking care of yourself and your skin.
Absolutely. And it makes me feel better.
Right.
So, I mean, if mom is happy, everybody's happy, right?
This is true. Right. This is 100% true. 100%.
So I did this exercise and put him on a budget just to make him more aware of what he was spending. And then when I put myself on the same budget, which wasn't even part of my plan, which was like, okay, fine, it was life-changing for me. So then once I took this concept and I started giving it to other people and letting them try it, it worked no matter what their money personality was. So spender, saver, avoider, because it puts everything into a container basically where it's already assigned to you, and it gives you permission, or it gives you it gives you the way to be intentional.
Right. And I think that's important. And I think that's the whole goal of this podcast, the goal of what I do with my clients. And I've been doing that for years of, if we understand the money that's coming in and we can plan for the money that's going out, whether that's through a budget, a spending plan, the envelope method, whatever method in that regards of how you divide that, I think that gives people more confidence to know, what they do. I look at my finances on a monthly basis to see what money's coming in from my husband's paycheck and what I'm making. And then I say, okay, what are my bills for the month? What do I know that is definitely going out? And I started to kind of do this in that bucket of money at the end of the month. I'm like, ooh, I could put some of this away into our money market and save it, whether it's for my son's college, if it's for some other things we want to go do, and let that grow. We've done CDs, we've done things to let our money grow. And it's starting to make me feel like I don't have to check my bank account on a daily basis to know what I have to spend and not spend. And I used to get anxiety because of, living paycheck to paycheck. You're checking every day. And I think if you understand your flow and you practice saving and you practice, like you said, budgeting or keeping a piece of that money set aside, I think it helps you with your confidence and helps you say, you know what? I don't have to check it every day. I know the money's in there. I know what I have. And I think that's important too. And I'm sure your MeMoney kind of helps with that process.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of the concept of MeMoney is also opening a separate account to put it in, a separate checking and savings account, so that it is absolutely separate. Because when it's all commingled, when it's all in there, it's so easy to just, go color outside the lines. But
yeah. And it's so interesting you bring that up, because on the business side of things, there's something called for-profit. And it's a whole system of helping business owners pay themselves, because as self-employed, you don't pay payroll wages. But you can put a bucket of that money away in a separate account, and it's your money to do with as you choose. And there's still money in the business to pay for expenses. So this is similar for your personal. And I love that concept, that create another bank account, because it doesn't cost you anything to open up another bank account, maybe except for having to manage it, but there's no fee involved in that.
Right. There shouldn't be. There are some banks that are charging fees. So if your bank is charging you a fee, get a different bank.
Yeah. So as you were talking about spending styles, and I've heard this from some guests before about kind of what your style is. And I'd love for you to go through that as part of this process for people to understand that there are actual data and studies and things written about what your spending style can do. And I think you have a quiz or something on your website to help people, but I'd love to hear kind of what the spending styles are and kind of what they say about people. And maybe that can help, my listeners kind of start to think about that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you Google a spending style or money personality, there's all different versions of it out there.
Yeah.
So I narrowed mine down, and I didn't create these. They're versions that are all
over a lot. Yeah.
So I narrowed mine down to 5. So I have a spender, and that's a person that spends money. Now, when we talk about spending, it's not necessarily even just on yourself. They could just be very generous and giving. They could be treating people to dinner, buying their kids gifts, helping their
kids. And there's
kids
nothing wrong with that, right? We should preface this that there is nothing wrong with being a spender in that style.
Absolutely not. There's no wrong money personality. There's a quiz. It's called a quiz, the thing I have on my website, but there's no wrong answer. Really what it is just getting to know you so that you can plan around you and know your personality.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So there's the spender. And then my husband was a spender, but he's not a bad way. He wasn't overspending,
Right.
And then I'm the saver. So the person that likes to save and plan for the future and is the one who's probably going to be not taking care of themselves.
Right.
And I'm not saying I never spent money on myself. I definitely did, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Then you have an avoider, and it's a person who's just I don't even want to think about it. It could be stressful to them. It could be just, they just don't understand money or whatever the thing is that's stopping them from paying attention. They're just avoiding it. If the money's there, they're okay. They'll and they might just be the one who just looks at their bank account to be like, do I have money? And then, I'll spend it.
Right.
They're not necessarily thinking about what's coming up or anything. Then you have a security seeker. And this is a step above the saver. Step above. Okay. This is a person who's very much into planning. They probably have spreadsheets. They're checking their balances all the time. They're making sure everything's going where it's supposed to go. They just like a lot of structure. So there's a bunch of structure, and they're the person who's also not going to spend on themselves probably because they're always planning for the future. Then there is the risk taker. Now, this person is someone who's just they want to do it all. They love experiences. They go big or go home, go bold. Right. So they're taking more risks. They might be taking risks with investing. They're
Carpe diem, seize the day.
In crypto or day trading, or I'm not going to go into investing parts on this, but they're just more taking risks. And none of these are bad.
Right.
It's just know yourself, right? Yeah. Know yourself and know how to frame things so that you can work with your money personality. Right. So I like to say I have 2 money personalities. My personal finance money personality is the saver. My business money personality is the risk taker.
Okay.
Because I'm building a new business. I'm I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make things big, go big or go home. And I'm I should probably be reeling myself in a little bit here, but
yeah, maybe. But like you said, whatever your spending style is, it's not wrong. It's not bad. It's just we have to be aware of that. And I'm sure like you said, it can shift. There can be the difference between personal and business, and it can shift once you understand your money and you understand what you can do. And I think in all of this, no matter what your spending style is, I think we all need to save in addition to that, right? There's got to be some level of saving as well. It's just, how do you plan for that? I think is, the way to go kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely there's saving involved, and it depends on, where you're at in your life, but
yeah,
everybody should be saving something. And especially if you're young and you're listening to this, oh my gosh, start saving sooner than you think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like put $1 away, put $20 away, get started to do this so that you can create your spending style or the way that you want to manage how you view your money. And I think that then helps, like I said, you have worked with women and understanding they felt shame. And I'm sure the process is to take that quiz or to take that analysis of what is behind the data and the numbers, because you could, put spreadsheets out all day long to your clients and they could still be like, that doesn't work for me, or I don't see it. And we have to take that step back. Is there anything you'd love to share, any of your experiences with any of your clients that really hit home with you and kind of as you're growing this process of MeMoney and sharing that knowledge with others that you'd love to share?
So I think the biggest thing is that throughout my financial courses, because I teach people how to do their own financial plan and financial
Love it.
like basics. But throughout the whole thing, I always bring in their mindset. Like, tell me how you're feeling when you're spending money. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to what you feel like when you look at your bank statement or you check your balance.
Right. I mean, do people look at their bank statements anymore with all this digital stuff? I know, I get people going, what do you mean reconcile your account and pay attention? Well, you need to know, what if you sent a check 3 months ago that never got cashed, but you reduced that out of your spending, or you spent that and then you don't have it, right? I agree. You should be checking your bank statements or something.
Exactly. It's funny. I've looked for a budgeting app that allows you to reconcile your accounts, and I haven't found one yet.
I don't think electronically, I shouldn't say that, right? QuickBooks, Xero, the accounting software, if you're using accounting software, especially for businesses, they have the reconciliation feature. I find with my clients that they're like, what are you talking about? So, I mean, I do the work for them. I do the reconciliation, but I show them the statement of what it means to reconcile so that they have a better understanding that maybe they've got 5 checks that are outstanding that, I better go find out why that vendor didn't cash it. It's the same on the personal side. But yeah, I don't think a lot of the budgeting apps do that because
they don't. I haven't found one that does that.
See, then maybe you need to create one. You should build one.
See, go big or go home. Here I go.
That's right. Go big or go home. Hey, listen, my husband is IT. My oldest is computer science. My youngest is going to school for engineering. So I get I'm like, what could they create for me? I know they're working, but can I borrow you for a second? But yeah, you're right. Those budgeting apps, and nothing wrong with the budgeting apps overall. It's just, it doesn't give you that other piece to understanding that part of your money.
Exactly. That's a big piece. That's the thing for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So building in the idea that there's feelings behind it and just noticing that, how are you feeling when you're making that purchase? How are you feeling when you're looking at your statement? Because there's so much psychology behind it. And by no means I'm a trained psychologist or in psychology at all.
Right.
But there's so much mindset and stuff in your head that goes along with it, that the better you can understand yourself, the better you're going to be able to plan and take care of your finances. Yeah,
no, you're right. And I think there's a lot of emotion attached to money, and it's how maybe you were brought up and what you observed, brought up about money. The idea that money has always been for a long time a taboo. We don't talk about money. You're not supposed to talk about that. And yourself and myself, we have to talk about it. How do women learn and understand, and especially young adults? How are they going to learn and understand? I think it is extremely important for us to pay attention to that. And I'm sure you've had those conversations with your clients.
Absolutely. Because it goes back to the first question you asked me is, what do I think is money?
Right.
It's energy, because it's with us all the time. Why is it not okay to talk about something that's with you 100% of your life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had a guest on talking about dating and loving your money. And not from the perspective of rolling around in the money and loving it, but taking that time, once a week, once a month, whatever, to really get to understand what it is you have. and no shame, right? Yourself and myself, we take a holistic approach. There's grace in all of this. I will spend on some things that maybe my friends will think is nuts or whatever, but they don't shame me for it. Just that's my situation. I think it's a huge importance that we lift up women and we say to women, let's see what we can do to help and help with money, because what has it been 51 years since we got the ability to have our own credit card in our name without having a man attached to it? It's yeah, right. Having property, having our own accounts. So with that, you talk about the truth about being responsible, and that term of good money, like what is making good money, to like understand, like, I guess, clear money, like that idea that being responsible with it. So like, how do you like help your clients or people you speak with understand, like, you need to be clear about money? Doesn't mean you have to be per se good or responsible with money. Like, what is that thought process that goes into that?
So it goes back to actually my personal story. So
okay.
I was a mom at 16. So I was a single parent for a while, very young. Then I got married at 22, and I was married half my life. And then I got divorced. But there was several periods in my life where I was good with my money. I mean, I was always good with my money, several periods, but like where I was on my own, right? But I was good with my money, and meaning that, like I was reconciling my bank accounts as a teenager. I was filing taxes before I was old enough to vote. I knew what I had coming in, and guess what? I had the same amount going out. So I wasn't going into debt. I was taking care of my finances. I was doing all the things I needed to do. So I was good with money, but I was never taught to save. My parents lived paycheck to paycheck. That's what I knew. I didn't know.
You learn by observing. That's how we grew up, right? It's nobody taught us about money.
Right. So, I mean, I knew that there was savings, and I knew that they saved a little bit here and there or whatever, but it was never a big part of the conversation. And I was struggling a lot of those times, right?
Yeah.
Being a single parent, you're struggling.
And you were young too.
Yeah. So there wasn't a lot. There was nothing left to save in some instances, but even so, like, I was still good with my money. I managed to not have debt. I managed to, I always paid off a credit card, other than, I shouldn't say not have debt, and mortgage, like things like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a different kind of debt. We're talking about, you bring up the credit cards, right? I think that's a huge thing for really anybody. Is credit cards only give you the ability to defer what you have to pay on that for a month. And I think that's where people, they just, I have a credit card and it's not my money. It is your money, because you still have to pay it back.
Right.
Right. And that's a hard lesson for a lot of people. And I think, right or wrong, it happens. And now we have to change that mindset of it. Using credit cards is good because it builds your credit to get the mortgage, to get the house, or to buy that car, or, get something else. But you have to be responsible or clear on what is the expectation of that money.
Right. Right. So in that sense, I was good with money, and I wasn't clear on money. Like, I didn't understand how money was a tool for me. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Money was just a tool to pay for the things I needed. It wasn't a tool for me. So I wasn't clear on how it worked, how I have my me now, and then I have my me, next year. I have my me 5 years from now. I have my me 20 years from now.
Right.
And how, like, all of those people are important, and that you need to take care of all those versions of yourself.
Yes, definitely do.
And, be planning ahead for things. And even though I called myself a saver, I still was a saver during that time. I wasn't actually saving, but my money and personality was still a saver. Right. Even though I wasn't actually saving. So getting clear on things means understanding how money is a tool for you, and how you put it to work for you. Yeah.
I think that's important. I think, that clarity helps, and it can be scary, right? Because people are the mindset, I live paycheck to paycheck. I don't have this money. And it's really just say, okay, we have to take a step back, take a deep breath. Let's really take a look at what you have. And you might be surprised, right? Going back to the opportunity cost, when you were setting up that budget for you and your husband of the MeMoney to spend, and that idea of, okay, I have a choice. It's basically a choice, right? I've got $100 and I can either go buy that polo shirt for golfing, or I can save it to go to the golf trip. what is it that you are using the money for, and what are you giving up? And I've taught my kids that too, like huge into that for young adults and even younger than young adults, right? Little kids can understand that concept of, okay, if I'm buying this, I can't pay for this or buy that or save for this. I think it's huge. And I think there's clarity in that as well.
There absolutely is. And not only that, it's teaching you values about what you value in life, what's more important.
Very true.
Yeah. And it's giving you more intention to what you're buying and what you're spending.
Yeah.
Like, is this thing worthy of my money?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's important. And I think, we only get to use our money while we're here. And when we're gone, that money either gets dispersed, however, or it's just gone. So we have to find a way to say, ooh, what can we do with that money in a shameless way of giving ourselves the confidence and helping us kind of do that. This conversation is great. Like, I think you and I could talk about this all day long, peel away the layers. Any other insights or things that maybe is important for my listeners to know?
I would say that you don't have to tackle it all at once, because I think that's a big thing. People think of like, oh, geez, budgeting. I got to figure all this stuff out. And it's just overwhelming.
Yeah.
And that's a way that MeMoney works too, is because you can just do the MeMoney part and figure out that number. And there's not a formula for it or anything. You just got to figure out what works for you, figure out what you're already spending,
right?
Track yourself for however long, and then add in anything that would be like those one-offs, like a show or something that you would do outside, so that you can start saving up for that. But I mean, the MeMoney thing is simple, start doing this, and you don't have to do the whole budget. In my course on MeMoney, I do have the way you go through your whole budget and you figure out what that number is. But
I love
there's an easy way to start. Take it one piece at a time. Don't feel like you have to tackle the whole thing.
And not only that, when you do set it up and you decide to stray from that or go, oh, I'm going to do this anyway, just say, okay, I've done it. I spent the money on this. Maybe I shouldn't have, or maybe it wasn't time to. Maybe I was saving for it later. But that grace of saying, okay, let's kind of get back on track and chalk that one up and move forward. I think is important too, because that helps with reducing any shame in spending your money.
Exactly. And this is where that money personality comes into. And like I can pay attention to the things. This is one of those things where, you know what, you probably will screw up. You probably will.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And just know that that's one more way for you to understand about your relationship with money. When you do that thing and you're just like, oh gosh, I just broke the rule.
Bought that extra bag.
Hey, just be like, all right, so why did that happen? Was it because I didn't listen to the story about opportunity costs that Samantha was telling me? Was it because I didn't listen to that? Was it because I was emotional spending?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do that all the time. Listen, we do that all the time. My friends tell me funny stories of just the things that they've done, emotional spending. And it's interesting because I want our listeners to understand too, that you and I are both in the financial space, but we have done, like, we've been through it ourselves as well. We're not just saying, oh, don't do this and don't do that and do this and do that. You and I, our experiences have been different, but we have experienced those things. My husband and I, for a while there, we were living paycheck to paycheck and struggling for some things and trying to figure out things. And I'll be very honest, on some level, COVID helped us because we weren't going anywhere. We weren't spending any money. And we were able to come up with a plan of what do we want to put away. And, we had a kid heading into college. He's graduated and working. And now we have one who's in college now. And our stress is, how are we going to pay for the next year and a half to 2 years left of college? Like it's stressful for us trying to figure that out. But, take the step back and get that clarity and having those conversations, right? If you're in a relationship, you have a spouse, a partner, someone you're talking to, you should both talk about where the money, saving the money and the plan for the money together. It shouldn't be you sitting on an island doing it for your family or whomever you're with. I think that's important too.
It's absolutely important. And I'm going to share something with you that I don't think I've ever shared on any talks that I've done.
Okay.
And that is that part of the MeMoney thing with my husband and I, which I didn't realize till after I was just thinking about the financial side of it, is that I felt like we were living two separate lives before I did the MeMoney thing.
Oh,
Because he was
interesting.
going and doing all these things, and I was saying, I can't do that. I can't afford that. But he was doing it.
Yeah.
He was going on the golf trips, the fishing trips. And now that it's in the MeMoney, the playing field is even. If he goes on trips, I know what money he's paying with it for it with, and I have the same money. So I can do the same things. So
I love it.
now I just feel like it's okay. Because before I was like, it was almost like it was unfair, but I was the one making it unfair because I was the one who wasn't spending money on myself. But also he was the one who was not thinking about our future. But leveling that playing field for me was actually improved our relationship.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And you know, you bring up a point. My youngest will be 21 in November. And he'll make comments every now and again going, that's dad's money. That's dad's money. You know, my husband's been working at his W-2 job for 30 years. He has a very good job, very steady job. I've been out on my own almost 12 years. And there are some lean times, you know, with the job and the business for me. And I look at him and I'm like, it's not that it's dad's money. It's our money of how we work together. And both my husband and I look at him and I'm like, we have conversations about our money. It's not that I just go and spend it and he makes it, right? You know, we take the time. And my son, I think, likes to razz us because he knows, but it comes down to that point of, especially for women that maybe are stay at home or doing a business or not maybe thinking financially they're bringing enough to the table because their spouse or partner is bringing the majority of it. I think if you have those conversations, you'll realize that it's not about his money and your money. It's how do we work together, right? Coming together and having those conversations of our goals. And, you know, you said your husband's one way in his spending style, and it's similar to me and my husband. But over the years, we've been together 30 some years, married 28 years, like we kind of have learned to talk about it. We don't always agree, right? There have been times where we're like, oh, I'm just going to do this and not tell him I'm spending money, or he does the same thing. But you have to have those conversations. And I'm glad to hear that it's made you closer with your husband and that, you know, you're able to confidently feel, you know, he's going to go on his trip. Guess what? I'm going on my trip next month kind of thing. Like, you know,
or I've chosen to spend my money differently. I get to get the car, which is my trip every month or whatever. Now, I want to go back to what you said about your son, because I know they razz you because I have some in their 20s too, but two sons in their 20s. But I want to say that, like, you're having conversations with your husband, but the kids aren't hearing it. They're not there when you're having that conversation.
Well, I should say not all the time. Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes I have been always, I should point out, I am very open with my kids about our money. Always have been. Sometimes we are having those conversations and he walks into the room and he listens and he goes, stop spending dad's money. Like, so yes, you are right. We don't always have the conversation in front of them, but we do sometimes. So yes, go on. Sorry.
I guess mainly I'm talking to listeners too, though. Like, keep in mind that if you're not having conversations about money in front of your children, you don't know what their perception is about your financial life 100%. Or how things work.
Yes. You're right. And like I said, we've always been open with our kids. You know, they know what my husband makes. They understand how my business works. They understand the idea of the mortgage and the student loans. You know, they both had to take out student loans. A lot of it was for skin in the game. Not that we not necessarily couldn't afford the college, but a lot of it was skin in the game for them. But we have had the conversations, and like we bought a new car in December, and we had the conversation with our older son because he's graduated, he's working, he's doing that stuff of like, look, this is what we did. This is what it costs. And, you know, it is important. And my kids have never gone to their friends and go, oh, my dad makes X, you know, and we get to do this or that. They understand when we're talking with them about it because we want them to understand, not because we want them to go blab it to their friends. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but I don't think it does. And they're more aware. So I do agree with you. We have to have these conversations with the young adults and our kids in our lives. You know, you could take a 2-year-old, you go grocery shopping and you buy a thing of oranges. And when you go to take it up to the, you know, register to pay for it, you can show them, you know, it's digital now. I know we don't pay by cash, but like you can show them the cost of it. They'll understand a little bit, you know, even at that young age. Linda, this has been great. I love having the conversation. I love what you do. I want to know where people can find you.
The best place to go is my website, because if you want to follow me on social, all my links are there. So it's lindagriz.com, LINDAGRIZ.com. And then there's also a resources page where you can find that money personality quiz. There's also a confidence quiz and a bunch of other freebie downloads that are financial related.
I love it. I'm going to have to go do that myself. Yes, I'm a CPA. Yes, I'm in the financial world. I love taking other people's quizzes. And I will have all of that in the show notes so my listeners can easily click on it and go to it. This has been fabulous. Any last minute insights or tips you'd like to share before we go?
Just get started. Just start paying attention to your money and your feelings around it because it's energy.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Linda.
Thanks, Samantha.
Follow, like, and subscribe to Your Financial Maven wherever you listen to your podcasts. And make sure that you leave your money stories or questions for me at www.yourfinancialmavenpodcast.com. I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about money. The purpose of this podcast is to provide general information on the subjects discussed. It is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It is not meant to resolve your specific financial needs or situations. Please consult with your CPA, tax, or financial professionals. Your Financial Maven is hosted and produced by Samantha M. Besnoff, CPA, and Your Financial Maven, LLC. Editing is done by Chris Zarnock of KM Zen Creative. Music is written, composed, and performed by Daniel Shore.